Hello and welcome to my tutorial for the new map editor that I designed. This map editor is made for creatures as in my new version, but also it can export to Creatures 3 and Docking Station, room maps that is, and it can export the backgrounds of all three games, so I can open them and save them here. So I'm going to open the Norn Meso, and I'm going to do a tutorial video on mapping it to show how it works. So the first thing I'm going to do is create a new room with the N key and make that encompass the entire Meso. And then I'm going to use the R key here to create this magenta line. You can sort of see it. And there, that'll, so you can move this line up and down. I'm not sure how I can see it. Let me just clear out of this. Yeah, there. And then that says where I want to cut. So I'm going to cut right here and create two rooms, one there and one there. And then I'm going to cut again for here to get these three sections, one for each section. And I'm going to open the properties window, and I know that the bottom type is supposed to be boggy soil. I think it's normal soil actually, because the Meso is like a swamp, but I think it's classified as normal soil. And I could just make this whatever I want, so I'll just make it all normal soil. I have no reason not to. And so now I'm going to make some more cuts. I'm going to cut first along the elevator, because that seems like a good place to me. Because that's really the only thing that needs to be really well defined as to where it is. And then I'm going to cut exactly in the middle here, and I'll make some more cuts to define where I want the floor to change shape or anything like that. And to make the CAs flow properly, the cuts really shouldn't be more than about 128 pixels across. So I'm just going to go through here and make all these. If I knew how to edit, I'd speed up the footage here. And I think those two are a little bit too close together, so I'm going to make a little bit farther apart here. And final one there. Because I have all these cuts, and I can start shaping the meta room by grabbing this with, I'm selecting it with by clicking and dragging, and I'm grabbing it with the G key. So I can move it. I can also drag and drop it, but that's a little bit finicky, I think. Now here I want to select this bit and move it down, but when I try to select this, it's going to select both rooms. So what I'm going to do is use Shift and Control and select this edge, and that will select just the part from this edge that I wanted. So that'll let me move that down there, and it's pretty rapidly taking shape. And if we look at the properties window over here, we can see that all of these cuts are of the correct type. They all lined up correctly. So there's that. And now I can start doing this part. And these rooms will just get deleted, because if a room is more than about 100 pixels short, then the creatures will have a little bit of trouble navigating it. So I'm just going to try to make this match this edge here. And I'll set the permeability of these to 50. And you can see they turn yellow there, just like in the original map editor. And there we go. Similarly, if I cut it here, then both sides will still have permeability of 50, as you can see there. So now I've almost finished this top layer. It took me almost no time at all. And I'm going to start on the bottom here. And here I don't need that room. I don't need these rooms. So I'm going to move this up there. I'm going to keep doing the same thing, because the old system of drawing each room individually, it just wasn't very efficient, I don't think. So I haven't really included the ability to draw rooms. When you try to draw a room in here, there are always going to be boxes, because it's just so profoundly slow to try to draw each one that trying to move each corner individually and shape it's just going to take too long. And here we go. That's roughly right. Another thing I can do is, when I'm dragging this around, I can lock it to the X direction by pushing the X key, and that'll make it so it can only move in the X direction. Or I can use the Y key to only be able to move it up and down. If I can remember where the Y key is, there it is. Like that. So, the reason it's getting longer here is that the rooms aren't allowed. The minimum point of the top, the maximum point of the top can't exceed the minimum point of the bottom. So when that happens, it'll just elongate the top, and this makes it easier to sort through them in my creatures engine. But it's just a thing that's sort of there for the originals. So here, I have these, and I need to shape the ceiling now. So I'm going to select all these rooms. And then, as before, I'm going to shift control select this edge, and get only that edge. And the top one is disconnected. You can see that the permeability lines are still connected. That's a bit of a glitch, but once that has been pushed down, they'll no longer be connected. I'm actually going to move these. I actually want to move this down a little bit, so it's closer to that. Maybe a little bit like that, I don't know. But in the new version, the rooms aren't allowed to have more than one room on each side, which is why this system was devised. Because, yeah. So that's why it's like this. And so I'm pretty rapidly doing this. And I keep accidentally grabbing it instead of selecting. I can also extrude here. Like I can push the E key to extrude, or I can select all of these. And those aren't extrudable because there's too many of them, but I can extrude this, for example. The reason this margin here is because the size of the room needs to be a multiple of 256. So it's just going to add that margin, but when it exports the file, it's going to beat the correct size to the cost file. And once again, I'm going to shift control select here and get those edges. That didn't work that time. Oh, I know why. It's because I selected it with the grab box in both cases, the same vertices. So there we go. And then we have this Meso here. But in the original, these were divided vertically. So I'm just going to do that now. And there we go. Our perfect Norn Meso, all mapped out. And it took about 10 minutes. So I'm going to save this as Norn Meso. as the creature's format. You can see with a K. And I'm going to save the cost file as well. And here I need to put in the X and Y position because in each case, in creatures, my version, the meta rooms all have their own coordinate system, so they don't need to worry about overlap. So it doesn't exist. So I'm going to put in some offsets here, and everything will be added to that. So this is going to be, I'll just make them both 1,000 because I don't know exactly where the Norn Meso is, but this is just the example file I decided to use. So okay. And another thing that I didn't mention is that, I'll just get rid of this so I have some more space. If you want to make a loopback world, like C1 to 2DS or C2 to DS, here you just copy and you paste and you put it where you want it to be, and so you can just get the loopback that way. And so I'm going to look at this cost file before I end off here and find it in not there. It's in the build directory. Probably. No. There it is. As you can see, I'm not very organized. So here we go. As you can see, it's correctly outputted all the coordinates for the rooms and the permeabilities here. It's alright. That's right. That's perfect. And that's the Norn Meso mapped in about 10 minutes.